Living at a time of intense fear. It is important to check in with people regarding how they feel at this time. Many people have busy lives and in fact spend such a considerable amount of time and energy doing things that they have limited time to think. It has been known for years that people, when they retire, those who have been very busy can face challenges to their emotional well-being as they have the time to think. The things they've been running away from for decades have a chance to catch up with them. We have all been living at a time of enforced change. For some, it has been a chance to positively slow down and reflect and take stock of life. For others, it will give space to think about maybe things which can be intimidating and challenging. And actually, maybe they'll need to speak about this. They'll need to share and actually discuss how they're feeling and responding to that. The stuff of life. Facing challenges, living life to the full. We all face challenges in our lives. Times when our plans do not happen as we expect. We all face stuff that happens. We may not be able to stop the stuff happening, but it is how we respond to it that matters. The one thing that is certain is that life is not a constant, predictable experience. And that is certainly something that we've experienced in the last year. It has ups and downs. We are all looking for safety, security, significance, meaning, self-worth. There are things that make us feel safe and secure. There are other things which unsettle us. Are you aware of this in your life? It is good to try to understand what you rely upon and what others rely upon, and also what seems to unsettle you and them. Things happen that challenge us, to challenge our status quo, that shake us up. It all depends on what we are relying upon. Think about a four-legged chair or stool. If one leg becomes wobbly, the whole thing becomes less stable. If two, it is decidedly unstable. If three, it takes a great deal of effort to keep it in balance. And if all fail, basically you are on the floor. What is it that gives us stability? Asked in a different way, what is it that makes us or others vulnerable? But think about yourself. Where are the weak spots in our lives? I'd like to illustrate this by using the illustration of a wall built with bricks. And imagine that those bricks are the experiences of your life to date. And each of us has a wall like this. Some of these experiences are good. Some are neutral. And some are basically bad. The neutral and good are part of a wall and has strength and integrity. The neutral very much are there. The good really reinforces it. But think about the bad experiences creating weaknesses in the wall of your life. If there are negative experiences close together or built on top of each other, this creates flaws in the wall's integrity. Negative experiences create vulnerability, and this affects what is resting upon them higher up on the wall. We all have a life wall, and we have an assortment of bricks in it. The way the wall is built depends on the circumstances of our life experiences. We are all very different. What makes one person strong can be the thing that creates vulnerability in another. Never judge another because you are not aware of why they are vulnerable or what they have been through. Also, never assume you are safe because you do not have their vulnerabilities. Yours may be very different and may only become apparent when they're challenged. It is important to be willing to talk, to keep lines of communication open for support. We keep things to ourselves for a variety of reasons. But the more we bottle up, the more chance there is that the pressure builds up inside. And like a pressure cooker left on heat without a safety valve, eventually it blows. Often, the longer we keep quiet, the harder it is to begin to talk. Which is why it is so important that we give people an opportunity to talk and share. But by talking and sharing, we have that opportunity to release the steam and stop the pressure building. However, it is important to keep working at it, to find support for ourselves and to support others. Do not ever feel embarrassed to admit to struggling or feel a failure for having mental health issues, because you're not alone. And when you're helping others, do not allow them to feel embarrassed either, for they are not alone either. And we want to support them. In the past, people have hidden how they feel. And because of this, there have been many left thinking that their feelings are unique and have been isolated and alone. But what they've been going through has been common and normal, and others have been going through it as well. But they've been unaware of this. 1 in 4 people in a year will have experiences that could lead to a diagnosis of one or other mental health issue. This sounds a lot. However, there is a range of mental health issues, and they come in very different types. They vary considerably in the degree and the impact. It is normal to have mental health issues in the same way that we have physical health issues. Some are short-term, others longer. Some are the equivalent of injuries, others disorders or illnesses. But all of them are common to human beings. And we need to accept that they happen. And people need to be allowed to talk and share. And we and they should be just as willing to seek help, appropriate help for our mental health, as we are for our physical health. We should also be willing to work at building good physical and mental well-being. And this can be done by finding a balance between work and social life, maintaining a good sleep pattern, eating sensibly, exercise and hobbies, creativity. And for those with faith, keeping in touch with God. Just a few tips. Beware of when you or others experience high points in life. We often talk about the mountaintop experiences, maybe like Elijah experienced. But actually, if you have that elation, that incredible experience, there's always a risk that if something dramatic happens afterwards which pulls you down, that sense of drop can be quite horrendous. And in fact, Elijah could be seen to have experienced depression after having that mountaintop experience, when his life was threatened and he ran. If we lose hope, something challenges the hope that we have. When we have something happen leaving our hopes dashed or our dreams at risk, then again we can plummet in our mood. Trauma and loss. Sometimes something happens out of the blue. It shakes us up and we reel with the shock. This can shake the most stable person because it comes out of the blue. It is dealing with the unreasonable circumstances, something which is not to be expected, something which really brings that sudden state of thinking, what's happened? Where am I? And you're shocked. An example of this from the past was the famous preacher Spurgeon. He, at the peak of his career, had an absolute tragedy happen. Someone at one of the big events he was hosting shouted out fire, and there was a stampede and people got killed. And it so traumatized him that he ended up going into a state of depression. I believe that God met him at that stage and actually brought him through. But he was really affected by that. So if someone as famous as Spurgeon can be impacted by this, then take heart. We are not alone. We are not unique. And in recent months, in the last year or so, the response to the ongoing pandemic and its effects, it is affecting people. It's affecting people in different ways. It's challenging us. And people need to be able to work that through. And another note, and I don't know how much this will come up in the calls that you have, but there is a need to think about the impact of drugs. Whether that's acceptable with drugs, legal ones like alcohol, or whether that's other things which people use, we actually need to be very careful, because if we rely on something to give us an upper or to relax us or to comfort us, and we become dependent upon it, it really can take hold. It can be almost like self-medicating. But we actually need to be very cautious about relying on things like that and allowing it power to control our lives. But we need to be very careful. And when we work with people, we actually need to listen to them and understand that actually often it can be people trying to cope and use things. And particularly, it has been seen over the last few months that a number of people have been drinking more or doing stuff which is helping them through. Maybe not what is good for them, but you need to understand what is happening and why, and to help them look to the future and find hope again.